Yes, people, welcome to the number one podcast in the Metaverse. Hopefully, this is working well enough for me to just waffle a bit about myself, the podcast, and why I even think a podcast in the Metaverse is still a good idea after it's taken a solid 3 days of trial and error to get to this point. I can show you what I was originally trying to do. So, initially, I was trying to film the podcast in the Sandbox metaverse, and as you can see, there's Snoop Dogg. But as you can see, this just felt a lot more like me running around in the metaverse and talking over the gameplay rather than a genuine podcast set like this. Like, this feels much more podcasty, much more homey, if that makes sense. But I'm aware that this still isn't perfect. It's still quite laggy, and I can't customize the room quite as much as I'd perhaps like to. I probably should change seat, to be fair, so now that I'm facing more head onto the camera, and I can also show you guys what I'm seeing, and then that should tie in quite well to why I even think a podcast in the metaverse is a good idea. Let me turn this off. Okay, so my thought process behind a podcast being in the metaverse is that I know that a podcast over Zoom works for many people, but personally, I feel like this is much more immersive and much easier to do once you're in here anyways. I also feel like it might be easier to pitch to someone the idea of hopping in VR to do a podcast over traveling to a podcast set. And a lot of the people that I love to talk to, I imagine, don't have the time to be traveling to a podcast set to waffle to me. I could do it over Zoom, but like I said, this just feels, as you can see, much more. It's just fucking cool, to be honest. There's a cool view, and it's actually kind of strange how well the hand tracking works, to be honest. But anyways, as you can see above me, my name's Nate or Nathan, either one works. And the metaverse theme actually fits what I'm interested in quite well, to be honest. So I work as a crypto analyst, which basically involves fundamentally evaluating different crypto projects and researching them in depth. So by no means am I a financial advisor, but I guess I could say that my opinion could be valuable. Let's put it that way. But I do intend to get some entrepreneurs, maybe some athletes or other people on the research team on here. I know they've got a lot of value to offer, especially in terms of crypto. But outside of the podcast, as well as through the podcast, I'm always going to be learning more and more to hopefully bring as much value to the podcast as possible. I've not even mentioned what the podcast is mainly going to involve, but I'm hoping that it's mainly going to involve self-investment. And what I mean by that is investing or improving yourself in all areas of life. So physically, mentally, financially, even spiritually. And hopefully we can get some guests on that almost specialize in those areas of life. And so I can hear out their perspectives and learn from their mindsets. That's what I'm really interested in doing, to be honest. A prime example of someone that I'd love to talk to is David Goggins, but I'm not gonna lie, I could never see him wearing a VR headset to hop in the metaverse. But you never know. But the guy's always running, so unless he's on a treadmill with a VR headset on, then guy's just gonna be dragging wires everywhere. But anyways, I do intend to get some really cool guests on the podcast sitting right beside me, maybe to my left or right, to bring you guys as much value as possible. I know this first episode has been a bit of a shambles, but I'm just hoping it's working well enough at the moment for me to just get a sort of introduction across. This isn't going to be a long podcast. It's just an introduction. What else was I gonna waffle about? But yeah, anyways, I'm aware this isn't perfect. It's still quite laggy, but I'm hoping that it's only gonna get better from here in terms of the quality and in terms of me personally speaking. I'm still kind of getting used to talking to a camera, never mind with a VR headset strapped to my face. So if I stutter or say anything stupid, then make sure to violate me in the comments. But I'm kind of hoping this first episode doesn't get many views because this has been a shambles. Maybe my grandma and my dog might watch this. But I'm gonna try to stay as consistent as possible and really build up an audience of people that are also trying to invest in themselves and improve themselves in all areas of life. I'm always going to be learning and bringing new people onto the podcast to also learn from them and just kind of pick their brains to learn as much as possible. But yeah, we're definitely going to get some people in the crypto space on here, entrepreneurs, athletes, people that I just think have really unique mindsets that I'd love to learn from. And yeah, this like I said, this isn't been a great first episode, but it's only going to get better from here. And on that note, we will leave it there.